Good day to each and all of you. Today we will be talking about moral issue of abortion. But first and foremost, let's define what abortion is. According to Britannica, it is the expulsion of a living fetus from the mother's womb before reaching its stage of viability. So, first, what is stage of viability? It is the stage of the fetus which it can survive outside the mother's womb. It is usually on the 22nd to 26th week of gestation. On the other hand, in medical terms, Dr. Heliegres stated that abortion is termination of pregnancy spontaneously or by induction prior to viability. To dig deeper about our topic, I'll be discussing the different types of abortion. First is natural abortion. It is also known as miscarriage. It has no moral significance since it is unintentional and involuntary. Second is direct or intentional abortion. It happens in unwanted pregnancies such as rape victims or incest. It involves taking birth control pills or abortion pills. It is considered as a crime here in Philippines. The third one is therapeutic abortion. It prioritizes the health of the mother rather than the fetus. For example, in ectopic pregnancy, which happens when the fertilized eggs implanted itself on the fallopian tube instead of the mother's womb, leading to hemorrhage in fallopian tube which leads to death. Next is eugenic abortion. It raises the argument that it is better for a child with defects not to be born than living a miserable life. Some fetuses develop genetic condition or defects such as anencephaly, cyclopia, and congenital hydrocephaly, which only leads to death right after they are being born. Lastly is indirect abortion. It only means that a certain medical procedure will provide medical relief to the mother and abortion occurs as a secondary effect. It is almost identical to therapeutic abortion. Now, the moral issue. According to moralists and Christians, life begins as soon as the sperm fertilizes the egg. Humanization states that the rational soul is already present soon after the human embryo has been developing, and this rational soul is the substantial form of the human's body. In our country, Philippines, abortion is strictly prohibited, not just because Christianism dominates in our country, but abortion also violates RA 10354, or also known as an act providing for a national policy on responsible parenthood and reproductive health. The reporting will be continued by Ms. Amores.
Hello, I am Crystal and I'm going to discuss the delayed animation, its type of interpretation, and pre-implantation. So, delayed animation. Delayed animation. Ensoulment occurs at a later time. Ensoulment is the moment when a being or human gains soul. The term delayed animation implies that the partisans of this theory, who were Aristotle, Saint Anselm, and Saint Augustine, hold that the embryo is not alive immediately after conception. Conception is fertilization of an egg by sperm. Next slide. Here are the types of interpretations of delayed animation. First, we have implantation. Sinasabi sa implantation na nag-occur ang ensoulment pag nag-ovulate na ang babae. And this take place 6 to 7 days after conception. We also have here unity and uniqueness. Dito naman, nagiging ng soul ang fetus pag-establish na ang unity and uniqueness niya. and this happens between 2 and 4 weeks after conception. Next is looks. Nangyayari lang ang ensoulment o nagiging ng soul ang fetus pag yung develop na yung features niya. If it already looks human. Next slide. Electrical activity. Dito naman, ensoulment occurs pag may electrical impulses na na-detect ang brain. Electrical impulses are electrical signals produced by the body that allow synapses, signals, and even heartbeat. It will occur around 8 weeks of pregnancy. Next is quickening. In quickening, nag-occur naman ng ensoulment pag may movement na nararamdaman yung mother sa womb niya. It is in the 10 to 12 week of pregnancy. Next is viability. Soul gains at viability. A fetus is considered viable if it has reached a stage of development where it is able to live outside of its mother's womb. Next is birth. Ensoulment occurs pagkapanganak ng bata. When the child has become biologically independent of his mother. Then last is the fertilization process. The theory of immediate harmonization, which claims that the ensoulment occurs from conception. Let's also talk about the pre-implantation period. So, pre-implantation period, ito yung period na kung saan na-form na yung embryo, meron ng metabolic interaction with the uterus, and dito na rin nag-i-initiate ng pregnancy. Dito na rin nabubuo or nasusustain yung fetal development. Next is the sexual intercourse. Dito naman, sinasabi na if ang babae at lalaki ay nagkaroon ng sexual intercourse during the implantation period, pwedeng ma-interrupt yung buong process, displacing the implanted embryo or expelling the embryo from the uterus. Then last is the contraceptives. Next slide po. Contraceptives is used to prevent pregnancy. Maraming birth control method, and isa na rito is yung pag-prevent ng sperm para na makalapit sa egg cell. Example is using condoms or cervical cups. Those are my topics, and to further elaborate, Ms. Asuncion will continue the discussion. Thank you.
I am Ashley Jude Asuncion and I will be discussing cell division processes. Cell division process is a process by which a single parent cell splits to form new cells, known as daughter cells. After approximately 6 to 8 days of this cell division process, the next critical stage of fetal development starts. The sphere of cells now enter the uterus. During these days, that one pole of the sphere of cell burrows its way into the lining of the uterus. The opposite pole of the sphere will become the fetus. The part which becomes the placenta produces hormones. Next slide. And it will be noted that the first 8 days of the reproductive process take place in the fallopian tube. Conception occurs in the oviduct several hours after coition. Next, fertilized ovum will stay in the fallopian tube. The umbilical cord connecting the embryo to the uterine wall and the bloodstream. In the womb, the fetus grows and develops about 280 days. If born at this stage, the baby has 99% chance of survival. The end of pregnancy, the delivery of the baby, is called parturition. The newborn is called parturate. Slide. Curettage is a surgical procedure in which the cervix is dilated so the uterine lining can be scraped with curette to remove abnormal tissues. If within the 8-day period following the sexual assault, the linings of the uterus can be scraped or rasped off by curettage. During these 8 days, all pregnancy tests undertaken may have negative results, and the lining of the uterus may reveal under the microscope to have contained no pregnancy at all. Curettage is the technique of scraping a body cavity, as the uterus, by a curette. A curette is a small instrument resembling a spoon or scoop used for scraping growth, tissues, etc. from a body. Next. Other things to consider about first 8 days of the fetus in the fallopian tube are the following. First, pills and intrauterine devices may act during 8 days. Second, it is the stage commonly described as the second half of the normal menstrual cycle. Third, it is a stage when morning after pill may act. Lastly, it is not covered under current abortion laws. That's all, thank you. And the next reporter will be Miss Baltasar.
Thank you again, Ms. Asuncion. So let's now move to the three general viewpoints of abortion. There are three general viewpoints of abortion: the conservative, the liberal, and the moderate or intermediate. The conservative position declares that abortion is never permissible, or at most is permissible if and only if it is required to save the pregnant woman's life, as in the case of the removal of a cancerous uterus or the removal of the fallopian tube or a part of it because of ectopic pregnancy. The fetus, the conservatives claim, has full ontological status and is hence an individual human person with moral status who possesses the same rights as those who are born. Most of Roman Catholics hold the viewpoint of the conservative. On the other hand, the liberal position states that abortion is always permissible, whatever the state of fetal development may be. Advocated by adherents of women's rights, this stance stresses the right of a woman to make decisions which affect her own body. If women are to be truly liberated, this view contends they must ultimately have full freedom to control their own reproductive capacities. A woman has the right to control her own body as her personal property within the context of the right to self-determination. On the contrary, the moderate position holds that abortion is morally permissible up to a certain stage of fetal development or for some limited set of reasons sufficient to justify the taking of life in this or that special circumstance. As far as the moderates are concerned, the fetus attains ontological status at quickening or viability. Fetuses have only some rights and therefore have a partial status. In this regard, abortion before quickening is morally legitimate. At the present time, the preceding position about abortion have been emerged into what is now known as the pro-life and pro-choice movement. Many claim that the values and perceptions that are integrated into the pro-life position are a synthesis of those already labeled as liberal and conservative. Likewise, several assertions and claims that are identified as integral to the intermediate or moderate and liberal positions have found expression in the pro-choice or pro-life movement. The pro-life movement is the disapproving view of abortion. The human being is to be respected and treated as a person from the moment of conception, and therefore, from that same moment, his rights as a person must be recognized and safeguarded. The pro-life movement, it is clear, is committed to respect an individual's right to life even if that right is uncertain or in doubt. It teaches the need to protect the weak, powerless, helpless, and the innocent from the harm that can be perpetrated by the more powerful, and at most provide them with an opportunity to develop their full potential. Furthermore, pro-life movement professes not only the value of accepting accidents, such as the pregnancy caused by rape or incest by chance and not by choice, abnormalities and mischance as part of life, but also pro-life movement is the denial of violent solutions as a way out of such unusual mishaps. So that's all about the three general viewpoints of abortion and pro-life movement. Let's now move to Miss Bravo for the next topic. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Crystal January Bravo, and I will be discussing about the effects of abortion as well as the pro-choice movement. So we'll talk about the effects of abortion. There are two effects of abortion. First is physical effects, and the second one is psychological effects. In physical effects, this includes the habitual miscarriages, ectopic pregnancies, menstrual disturbances or discomfort, stillbirths, bleeding, shock, coma, and so on. While in psychological effects, this includes the following: self-destructive behavior, anger, rage, helplessness, loss of interest in sex, inability to forgive oneself, nightmares, and frustration, thwarted maternal instinct, intense interest in babies, guilt, and so on. Then we'll talk about or move to the pro-choice movement. So the first pro-choice movement in expulsion of fetus may be classified as personal or familiar reasons, which includes it underscores freedom of choice, giving centrality to the sovereignty of the individual's conscience, especially in gray areas of morality. The second one is it liberates procreation decisions from the control of the church, even as it realizes that religiously directed choice against abortion is not fully free at all. The third, it safeguards the mother from a pregnancy that would threaten her life by possibly resulting in cancerous uterus, therapeutic abortion, or ectopic pregnancy. The fourth one is it protects the reputation of women in cases of pregnancy due to rape and incest. Fifth is, in the name of justice, those who suffer the consequences of their moral decisions should be the ones who make those judgments, such as women subject to pregnancy and childbearing. The second pro-choice movement classification is the social reasons, which includes the following 5 reasons. First is it provides an adaptation to a world that no longer needs nor can afford unlimited childbearing. The second one is it alleviates economic, sociological, or demographic problems. Third, it anticipates the social cost, which involves in the care, support, and education of a severely handicapped individual during her or his lifetime. Example, those handicapped as a result of the inadvertent use of fetus deforming drugs. Fourth, building society in which there is no bias against the poor in favor of the affluent and the powerful. Fifth, it checks overpopulation and reduces pregnancy, child abuse or prostitution, maternal deaths through illegal or dangerous abortions, poverty, and illness. The last and third protest movement classification of expulsion of fetus is legal reasons. First, it prevents the births of terribly malformed or defective children, which refers to abortions performed based on fetal indications or selective abortions. Second is child deformity will cause the family to incur staggering financial and psychological costs. Deformity will engender lifetime agony and desolation in the baby. It also aborted as soon as deformity is detected in utero, the mother will be doing more good than the harm for more fetus. Third is the abortion is a postnatal method of eliminating couples' offspring if its sex is found to be undesirable. The son preference among couples is common in some parts of the world, particularly among the Chinese, Koreans, and Indians. And that would be all for our reporting. Thank you and have a nice day.